At this time, I have the privilege of introducing from our own Perry Baptist Church, here to deliver the invocation tonight, Pastor Joey Tassino. Pastor?
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Let's go ahead and say a quick word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you so much for the city of Perry and the wonderful folks who lead it. Thank you for the leaders who decide to come out and have the best interests in mind here at Perry. I pray that you'll continue to be with them, guide them, bless them, direct them. They've done a great job so far, and I pray that they continue to do so. I pray that they have your best interests in mind as well as they lead this town. I pray that you'll bless our time together tonight. Be with us. In your blessed and holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pastor, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Are you ready to call to order?
I call to order this regular city council meeting held on May 16th, 2019.
If everyone would please rise. And if you would join myself and the student mayor in saying,
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Everyone may be seated. Devin, would you please call the roll?
Craig Elliott.
Here.
Adam Grass.
Here.
Christopher Powell.
Here.
Michael Queen.
Here.
Terry Wood. Mayor James Hewlett.
Here.
All is accounted for except Councilmember Terry Wood.
I find that a quorum is present. We will now move on to the agenda. The clerk and I have prepared the agenda. We believe it has all items of business that need to come before you for your attention tonight, and I submit it to you for your approval or your amendment.
Move the agenda be adopted as printed.
Second.
Moved by Grass, seconded by Powell, that the agenda be adopted as printed. Is there any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please vote no. The motion carries. That will take us to reading and approval of the minutes. Devin, would you please read the minutes of the May 2nd, 2019 regular council meeting?
Move that we suspend the rules, waive the reading, and approve the minutes from the May 2nd, 2019 regular meeting. Second.
Moved by Queen, seconded by Grass, that we suspend the rules, waive the reading, and approve the minutes for the May 2nd, 2019 regular meeting as presented. Is there any discussion on those minutes or the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please vote no. Motion carries. Devin, would you please read the minutes of the May 8th, 2019 special meeting?
Move that we suspend the rules, waive the reading, and approve the minutes from the May 8th, 2019 special meeting. Second.
Moved by Queen, seconded by Elliott, that we suspend the rules, waive the reading, and approve the minutes from the May 8th, 2019 special meeting. Is there any discussion on those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please vote no. Motion carries. I got one more for you. And I'll show you how.
Move on. This next one. Are we ready for that?
Yeah, whenever, if you guys are prepared.
I move that while the rules are suspended, we advance to old business with the understanding that we will return to normal agenda order upon the completion of old business.
Moved by Elliott, seconded by Grass, that while the rules are suspended, we advance to old business with the understanding we will return to the normal agenda order upon completion of old business. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please vote no. Motion carries. We will move down the agenda to old business. I wanted to take care of this. I have been struggling with what to do. We've all seen the difficulties that we've had. We all have busy lives, mustering quorums and being able to conduct business. So I have been, for quite some time, concerned about filling our vacant council seat. And I've had the good fortune of finding someone within our community who is about as well qualified as I've ever seen to take a seat at this city council table for the very first time. Mindy Galbavy has served for over a decade on our planning commission. She has demonstrated an outstanding ability to work with other people through her colleagues on the planning commission, to make hard decisions, to ask tough questions, and has shown me over the years that she's somebody who looks out for this city and puts them first. And I think we are all very fortunate that Mindy is agreeable with taking a seat at this Perry City Council. Karen left some big shoes to fill, and I think out of all the people I could have found, Mindy Galbavy is well qualified to fill those shoes. So, at this time, I appoint Mindy Galbavy to fill the vacant seat on the Perry City Council, and I submit her appointment to council for your consideration and consent.
Move that we accept the mayor's appointment of Mindy Galbavy to fill the vacant city council seat.
Second that.
Moved by Queen, seconded by Powell, that we accept the mayor's appointment of Mindy Galbavy to fill the vacant council position. Is there any discussion? Hearing no more, all in favor of the motion, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please vote no. The motion carries. Mindy, would you come forward and we'll swear you in?
See, first thing you get in here and then they start swearing you in. Welcome to City Hall.
Would you please raise your right hand and repeat after me? I, state your name,
I, Mindy Galbavy,
do solemnly swear that I will support
do solemnly swear that I will support
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
the Charter and ordinances of the City of Perry,
the Charter and ordinances of the City of Perry,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
and I will faithfully perform the duties
as elected council member
as elected council member
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
You may add, so help me God, if you wish, but you're not
So
required
help
to.
me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Devin's going to need to correct your signature on the date.
Okay.
She'll sign off on that.
Okay.
You have your seat right here. Thank you.
Mindy, look around, you're one of the guys.
Maybe she's going to straighten all those guys out.
Just wanna share we bring baked goods.
Now it's down to Chris to bring us baked goods.
Can't eat on bacon.
They'll make you some stuff you can't eat up at the Carl's Supermarket.
I'll do that.
Yeah. Maybe I will too. Excellent. Okay, so now, having completed old business, we will return to the normal order of the agenda. And our first item is pre-approved reports and presentations. Oh, before we begin, I'm going to pass this down. Mindy, we've added you in for this process, but the good news is that you don't have to do this until we get out to October. And that's a map of what each one does, and I think some of our more experienced council members, if you wanted, would be happy to talk their process through it so that you can get a little familiarity with this before it's your turn. Mr. Powell,
Yes, sir.
I recognize you. Please proceed.
Okay. All right. May I have Vivian Kennedy, please? Please?
It's Kenny.
Kenny? Oh, it is. Okay, I said Ken. I was thinking of somebody else. Hi, I'm Chris.
Hi, Chris.
This is the hardest month to pick out the Ross Delu. Put your best foot forward for your home. And everything was still muddy, but I love lilacs and all these popping up. So I see in your yard, and this is going to hide, or hang, won't hide, it's gonna hang here at City Hall. You wanna hold on to that and take a look? One more? Okay.
Hi.
This is for you to take home.
Okay.
Address, love driving around, looking at the yards. Christmas time's really fun when we do this around Christmas lights. But I think it's really important to keep your yards up, keep your homes maintained as much as you can, and just take pride in where we live, so.
Well, I live right on that corner, so
Then-
I got Main Street.
This is from Victor Darling at the hardware store. There's a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Not a coupon, it's,
Gift
yeah, gift certificate
Okay.
for you. And that's for you.
Okay, thank you.
Get more bulbs or, that's about all the flower talk.
Grassy.
Grassy bulbs, you know, roses. I thank you very, very much. Want to get one more with this thing? You're like my mom here. Thank you very
You're welcome.
much.
Thank you.
All set. Go ahead. Don't forget your other window.
Did you want to keep your stuff, put your best face forward?
Oh, I didn't say it.
Still first schedule?
Oh,
You can do it from your seat if you want.
yeah, it's best foot forward or face?
Put your best face forward.
Okay, let's get this last name.
Johnson.
Okay. I also had the opportunity to do the resident and the business in Perry. And this month, I picked the total resale for Kevin Johnson. And I'm surprised he's not here today. He is one of the most involved business owners that we have in the community. And I just wanted to show him how much I appreciated him trying to work for Perry. So, Kevin, we already took a picture. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And that will conclude our pre-approved reports and presentations. So we will now move to comments from the public. It is at this time during our meetings and at the end, under any other business may come before council, that we open up the floor for members of the public to address the city council on anything they may have on their mind. We do have a 3-minute time limit on public comment. Would anyone from the public like to address the council at this time?
I would please.
Yes, sir. Would you like to come on up to our podium? If you would like your name to appear in the minutes, you have to say it. Even if we know who you are, we won't write it down unless you tell us to.
I'm Mark Mosher.
Welcome, Mark.
I got a letter, I rented the Perry Lakes gravel pit to do a highway project, and the letter says that it's not zoned for what we need to crush concrete there. Is there any way that we can find another way around it, a special use permit, whatever it takes to get forward with the project?
Okay. And you'd like to talk with someone about you and answer that question?
Yeah, I'd like to get a permit, whatever we can do to get
Okay.
it. I thought it had to be approved, so that's why I'm here.
I don't know the process off the top
Okay.
of my head, Mark, but certainly I would be happy to talk with you about it. If you cannot stay until the end of the meeting, I can give you a card
I
and you
can
can call
stay.
me on your own time.
That's no problem, that's not an issue.
Okay. Did you have anything else that you want to tell us?
Nope, just trying to grow a little bit. Got a bunch of guys' jobs on their line, for that property, for this highway project we have. We got 30,000 ton to crush, and with that being shut down, I don't know, we put 10 guys out of business,
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mark.
Would anyone else from the public like to address the council at this time? Mr. Noble? She won't put your name in the record unless you
Okay.
tell us, though.
I'd like to initiate some thought for the city of Perry. I just found out through my research guide back in Monroe that the land from Beard Road to the ice cream store is Perry, right?
There's a great deal of land out there that's in the city.
The sidewalk. I'd like to see if we could put a sidewalk in to the ice cream store so that grandkids and small kids can walk with their parents on a sidewalk the rest of the way to the ice cream. So, however that gets done, if you could look that up for me.
Is there a sidewalk on the other side of the street in front of the car parts place? There's not, is there?
No,
There you go.
Okay,
That's all I have. Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Nolan. Glad to have you with us.
Thanks.
Would anyone else like to address the Perry City Council at this time? Seeing no other public comment, then we will move down to communications. Devin, do you have any communications for the council tonight? We will then move to mayor's reports. Well, I have a few things in here to bring up for everybody's attention. But the first thing that I would like to let council know is that we have now completed the sale of the property on Britton Road. In fact, I went and completed the closing today. So I have copies of the closing statement for council to review and a copy of the check which the city received for $48,828.42. A check which is locked up and secured and going right into the bank about as fast as we can get it there. This is the property that the city received for lack of taxes that we've had and we've sat on for about 3 years now. And this is the accomplishment of the work that the realtor that we hired last year, Jamie Bates, completed. And the only other comment I would have on that is this realtor did one heck of a good job for the city of Perry. She went in, she talked to the business, she demonstrated herself to be a professional, she knew what she was talking about, and moved this company from their initial offer of $7,500 that I rejected on behalf of the city to effectively a $56,000 sale price because they paid her commission. She did a really good job. She has my gratitude, and I would just like to, for council members who've had a chance to get to know her, if you're ever looking for somebody to recommend as a realtor, I think she deserves your serious consideration.
We don't get to see her much, so
We will
need
need
to see her, send her our thanks.
I have already shared with her that, because you guys have told me over time how grateful you are, and I've let her know that the Perry City Council recognizes the good work that she's done and that she has a great deal of appreciation and positive opinion here at this group. I guess we don't get to see her so much anymore unless we come up with more real estate that we have to sell.
Make up a story, she was pretty.
I'm sorry, what?
I just said, Mindy's new here, so I'll get her in and introduce her to Mindy.
Okay. Well, if we need her help again, we will.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. I've got some other notes here. Oh, I want to report to council that the option to purchase 130 South Main Street has been signed and is in place for 90 days. And I am currently working on the other steps that will be necessary if we're going to get an opportunity to turn that property into a new library. I'll keep you up to date as I move forward with that. I also want to report to council and remind everybody in the public as well that this weekend is our yard sales weekend here in the city of Perry. This is our part of our cleanup process that we have every spring. Everyone has the opportunity, should they wish, to hold a yard sale. It's a community-wide one. We're hoping it will draw lots of people in. And then next week, we will have trash pickup on the curb. Big items will still need to have a permit and an additional amount paid, but we won't be dealing with the traditional limit. It used to be 6-bag limit, now it's a limit of those big bins that they brought us. But this is the time to, if we've got lots of trash, that we can get it out there on the curb, and they will haul it all away for us. A great opportunity to clean up our community and take care of anything that we have laying around our house that we don't need. Actually, I've had the opportunity to participate in this so much, I can't make big piles anymore. I just don't have that much junk sitting around, I only have a year to accumulate it. The final item that I want to bring to council's attention, and I'm sorry that Councilman Wood wasn't feeling good tonight, this would have spared us the more formal process. However, on your agenda tonight, I have asked council to set a public hearing for 1 week today regarding the mayor's budget and the setting the millage rate. Once you set that, I will call a special meeting for that purpose. And if everyone could kind of check their calendars, I want to make sure that we have a quorum here. This will be our final opportunity to get this budget passed without going into June. And the charter says we are to get it passed in our last meeting in May. So we'll get into that as we get a little further down. I'll give you a little bit of a presentation and an update on the budget, but I'd like to bring your attention, 1 week from today at 7 o'clock, we need to have a special meeting, need a quorum present to get the budget approved. And I'd also like to encourage all of you, since Mindy, unlike us, is coming into this process fairly cold, she hasn't had an opportunity to participate in the special meetings. Please feel free to share your knowledge and everything that you have seen as we've gone through this process to help her gather the information she needs to make a decision here. You okay? Good. Let's see, I'm going to check my notes.
I think that's it.
And I think I've covered everything. Does anyone have any questions for me at this time? Okay. Then we will close the mayor's report and we will move on to presentation, committee reports. Do council members have any committee reports for us tonight?
None from Parks.
We know that's coming up for us. Any other committee?
None from planning.
Then we will move down the agenda to presentation and approval of the bills. Council has had an opportunity to review the bills, although Mindy, I don't know if we've shown them to you yet.
Just right here.
And I seek your approval to pay the bills.
Move that we approve the bills as presented and payment be authorized. Second.
Moved by Queen, seconded by Grass, that we approve the bills as presented and that payment be authorized. Mindy, you had an adequate opportunity to look those over? Would you like us to give you a little time?
Yes.
Okay. How about if we take a 5-minute recess? Might be a little bit less than a 5-minute recess, but we'll go off camera and we'll give Mindy an opportunity to have looked at those. And then we'll come back into session. Can I get a motion?
Motion that we take a 5-minute recess off camera for perusal of the bills.
Second that.
Moved by Elliott, seconded by Powell to take a 5-minute recess. Is there any discussion? All in favor of the motion, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please vote no. Motion carries. Would you check again? We are in recess. All right. City Council is reconvened from its 5-minute recess, and we are ready to proceed. We seek council's permission to pay the bills.
Did we already get a motion in second?
Did we?
Yeah, I think so.
That is correct.
I
Just
didn't
was
write
not
it down.
done.
Would you refresh my memory on
I have
what the motion was?
Queen and Crush.
Okay, so moved by Queen, seconded by Grass to pay the bills as presented. Is there a discussion on the bills? Hearing none, all in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please vote no. Motion carries. That will move us to new business, possible resolution adoption of water and sewer rates. So I have a motion before council which will implement the water and sewer rates that we've been looking at and line us up with the new budget that I will present a little bit later on. And I will open the floor up for discussion and questions and motions. This is a long one.
Another resolution, but they have a short motion. They don't have to read
Ah.
the resolution.
So you don't have to read the whole resolution, we can just have a motion to approve.
All right.
And
But
just
as we've been working through this process and at the budget meetings talking about it, has it been the practice? We have tried over the years to build inflationary increases into our utility rate systems. For a time, we were required by our sewer bonds to continue to have inflationary increases in there and make the bonds set a minimum. We're out from under that requirement now. However, to keep a healthy utility system, it is a wise practice, which is why the bondholders were requiring it of us, to keep up with inflation. And so I've worked with our DPW superintendent to devise the appropriate rates. These rates are the ones that will generate user fees that we have in the budget for you. And so I'm looking for council's approval on these rates.
I move that we accept and approve the resolution presented, which increases water and sewer rates effective July 1st, 2019.
Is that sufficient?
The resolution will be placed in your minutes, so there's transparency of the whole resolution.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Elliott, seconded by Powell, to accept and approve the resolution regarding water and sewer rates. I'll open the floor up for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please vote no. The motion carries. Thank you. That will move us to possible approval of display case. Devin, did you have some information for council on this?
I gave you a copy of a proposal to build a display case upstairs. The city has several artifacts and different items that could be displayed upstairs, and we have moved the pop machine to the third floor to someday accommodate this. In front of you, the project is $2,891.56, and I give you a copy of, it's going to be similar to this look. I don't know who would, we have so many new. The cabinets that you see in our office, it's the same gentleman. He builds them from scratch, these cabinets. I did go out and ask Dory to price what display cases are. They average 21 to the lowest was 18. And here is, and John can back me up this. John is struggling with all of the products that you can go out and order and have them shipped to us due to the products that they're made with. What I'm proposing is that we get a product that is solid wood that should last years and years. Also, the mayor, if you recall, at last budget, he said that he would donate to the community, any kind of community events or anything extras going on uptown, his wages. So all of his council pay and his mayor pay has been going in as a donation to the city. Dory has stayed very well in the parameters of what the budget was, and I'd asked the mayor that if we could use his funds towards this project. So, for one, we have buildings and grounds that has a few more funds, and I don't have an exact amount, of course, because we're still collecting your pay for this year, but,
It's almost, you got almost all of it.
yeah. So if I had to predict, because there's cancels of council meetings and stuff, the mayor would have $2,000 at least contribution to this. And so, again, I support John's recommendation, and I ask that you consider having this gentleman that did such a fabulous job in craftsman's work to build us a cabinet instead of supporting a business that's not local and, you know, it's, there's no solid wood in any of the products that we've seen.
This is a local man?
He lives out on Lansing Road.
Lansing
between
Road,
Cary and
yeah.
Shaftesbury.
Okay.
Yes. We were introduced to him, Kyle and him do security on their second job, is how we were introduced and know of him.
Okay, okay.
Move that we approve the service contract as written from Cabinet Fitters LLC, authorize 50% payment upon acceptance of agreement and 50% upon completion of job for a total amount not to exceed $2,891.56, and give superintendent of DPW authorization to sign the service contract.
Second.
Moved by Queen, seconded by Grass. The approved service contract is written from Cabinet Fitters LLC, authorizing 50% payment. What am I doing? You get the next one, you whack me with that. Yeah, if I forget to give you the next one. He's been ready, and I keep jumping on his motions. I'm gonna put my hand right there. Whack, I'll never forget. Upon acceptance agreement, 50% upon completion of the job for a total amount not to exceed $28,091.56, and give superintendent of DPW authorization to sign the contract.
$2,800.
$2,891.56. I was anticipating the gavel I'm gonna get if I mess up.
Be like with gold.
I'm all
Spotlights, got rollers.
This young man hasn't been getting the opportunity I kept promising because I kept jumping ahead. Is there discussion on the motion?
Now,
Yes, Chris?
roughly 2,000 of this is from what you've been donating out of your,
Yes.
that's awesome, James.
Yes.
I appreciate
I
that.
had left that in, it was for purposes of community events like downtown. However, they've been so good with the budget, they have not spent the pay that I donated back.
Okay.
And so, when I opened up a discussion about getting it, they found something to do with it. Well, you have to spend it, I'll take it back. And this is a good cause.
Okay.
I like it. I think it'll be a great benefit to the city of Perry, future generations, future councils, everybody, to have an opportunity to have a case like this.
Okay.
Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please vote no. Motion carries. Keeping the hand right here. Next is possible approval of new fire hydrants. John, do you have a presentation for council on this one?
Yes. This was budgeted last year, in last year's budget, or the current budget we're in, to purchase 3 fire hydrants. I kind of waited till towards the end, where we're going into the summer, so we can get them installed. The 3 hydrants with a total cost of $6,754.24 to be placed in various areas around town.
Now, are these ones that had the bag, winter, the garbage bag?
Some of them, those we can fix them.
Okay.
Some of these are from the 50s, and so we gotta pull them out and install some new ones, because I
And that's what you were
can't
talking
get
about,
parts.
parts are no longer made for those ones. I had no idea they
It's
had
in,
that much money.
It's in our 20-year plan. We just have to start getting it done.
Okay.
This was in the budget, John?
It was in the budget
In the
and capital
budget
outlay.
that we're in now, not the new one.
Correct.
And which budget does this come out of?
Water in capital outlay.
Move that we authorize payment to EJ Company to purchase new fire hydrants for an amount not to exceed $6,754.24.
So you got Queen, who did the ocean?
Moved by Queen, seconded by Grass, that we authorize payment to EJ Company to purchase new fire hydrants for an amount not to exceed $6,754.24. Opportunity to discuss?
If you hear discussion, you can call the roll.
Alright, all in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All against, vote nay. Alright, motion carries.
Well done. Thank you. The first one's always the
Yeah,
hardest. I still remember my first one. We had a number of fellas that were here a long time ago. They were here to yell at us. Public comment was a long process. We didn't have a 3-minute time limit back then. See how smart these guys have gotten. John, next item is check valves for well number 3. You have some presentation for council on this one?
Yes. When we did our annual well inspections, I noticed that the check valve was leaking back. And it's been that's the original one since 1981, so I believe we've gotten pretty good service life out of it. It's not something that has to happen today, but it could potentially cause water hammer and back siphonage into the wellhead itself. So I think we have the money, that there's a little bit of extra money in capital outlay and system maintenance will cover the cost of the $3,260.
This is coming out of the 2018, 2019 budget? The
Yes.
one we're in now?
The one we're in currently.
I move that we approve the maintenance and repair of the check valve for well number 3 and payment be made to TH Eifert in the amount not to exceed $32.60.
Second.
Moved by Grass, seconded by Elliott, that we approve the maintenance and repair of the check valve for well number 3 and payment be made to TH Everett for an amount not to exceed $3,260. Opportunity to discuss. Hearing no discussion, all in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All against nay. Motion carried.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. That moves us down to, the exciting part of the meeting, the mayor's 2019-2020 proposed budget.
Joanne, do you have an extra for me?
I have a whole stack of them right here.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
she has
sorry.
one. He just hasn't given them out
Would
to
you
you
pass
yet.
this, but go
Yeah.
ahead and take that budget down?
There should be one there for her.
I was told you were handing them out,
It's not my budget, honey.
honey.
It's his.
It's my budget,
Mom, you know
my
what?
responsibility.
Okay, since you did that. You stop that.
Council will find that you have a legal size paper. This is the summary sheet that everybody has been seeing throughout this process, and this is the most updated version. This report here is your detail of the budget that goes into the summary sheet.
James, just for your information, that fold-out sheet has the date on the very bottom. So
Yes,
if they get it confused with the other ones that they have in their packet, look for that date.
Yes.
So they'll know which one is the correct one.
Yes, so all the other sheets we've given you has not been the mayor presenting his budget. This is the formal process in which I present to you the budget. I'm gonna let Craig go ahead, he's doing a little briefing there. You're gonna have to raise my pay to get any more than that.
Oh, no, the other way. Is what I'm looking at, because we're at donations for truck benches. And then the little ones.
Yeah, you know, I would think you should go back there and talk to the little dog, because I think you're gonna find out she expects her name to be on the big name.
And the big what?
That's what this puppy says.
Well, you know, like.
You know what I thought would be amusing? I've been trying to train her, apparently I'm a lousy dog trainer. I wanted to have her sit up here in my lap, but what I wanted is have a little signal that I would give her, and whenever I'd give her that little signal, she'd go,
That'd be-
but I haven't been able to get her to do it. But I thought it'd be amusing, because, you know, then you might argue with me and I give her the little signal and they go, oh, Jazzy doesn't like what you just said, Chris. She's not interested in doing that, so we don't get to do it.
She's a lover, not a fighter.
Yes, and if you rub her belly, she'll vote with you every time.
Get that like
Yeah, you get that leg going and you'll have her vote if she got one.
tape a match to it, and you can light it quick.
Oh, don't do that.
What? Not to burn it. Jeez, I'm an animal.
I think I'd be okay. So a couple highlights regarding the budget here. Many council members will have heard this, but not every member of the public has had an opportunity to hear it. So one of the major things that I have been doing with my budgets each year, there are rules regarding our road funding. When we receive money for highway major, we are able to move some of it to highway local, but there are limits on what we can move to highway local. Highway local can be moved anywhere that the council wishes to pick any road, major or local. So it has been my practice in budgets to every year move the maximum allowed amount out of highway major and into highway local. The purpose of that is to put the savings account where councils in the future have the maximum flexibility to spend the road funds where our city needs it. And this budget does that same practice, which is why you see a substantial spend down in highway major. I want to build the savings up in highway local so you can do what you need to do. I do have a note for council, because this will affect future budgets. I read in the Lansing State Journal today that the governor's plan regarding the new 45 cents a gallon fuel tax is designed in such a way that it will favor the big communities who have more highway major than we do. My trouble with this proposal is that it's our residents who are going to be paying the big part, because they're the ones who are taking the longest drives to get to their jobs and get to other things. So we get to pay it, and it goes to the big urban areas. Well, I think that's a smart political move on the governor's part, but I don't think it's right for our citizens. So I'm keeping an eye on this. I'm certainly going to be speaking to our state legislator, and if I can get someone in the governor's office to listen to me, I'm certainly going to be sharing my opinion. I'd like to encourage you guys to keep your eye on these things, form your own opinions, but watch out. There's little things that go on at Lansing that don't always work out so well for the residents here in Perry, and that's one of them. We're going to get here in Perry a much smaller share under the plan that's been proposed right now. So, getting off my political soapbox, we have provided a additional expenditure in parks because Councilman Powell and his Parks Committee are working to develop some plans. They want to do some things this year with the money. They've actually been working for a lot of years, but we have a hope that they're going to have a project, and so we have planned for some expenditures on the money that we've been saving in parks and properties, and you'll see that in this budget. I have continued to cut rents in the utilities fund, and I've talked with staff. The water fund is balanced, and I've wiped out the last of the 10,000 of rent going into the general fund there. We've done some trimming in the general fund budget as well. There was a change that happened after our last meeting. We had not yet had the opportunity to adjust for the Headley rollback. When we made the required adjustment for the Headley rollback on our millage, we lost another $8,400 in funding. So I went through and I slashed quite a few different things. council got to see most of what those things were. We slashed some money going into the building authority, and also I required $2,500 of cuts in the police budget from a variety of different pieces. You guys were here for most of the other pieces where we were trimming out community promotions and a variety of different things. I reevaluated the attorney's fees after he updated us on where we were. I decided that the cut I made had been slightly too aggressive, and so I bumped it back up another $500. However, the bottom line is, the proposed budget contains a spend down of the general fund of about $21,500. That is made up of two pieces. One is the parking lot repair that we need to do here. I believe that is absolutely necessary, or if we put it off, we're going to subject the city to a much more substantial fee and not take good care of this parking lot here around City Hall. I think we need to do that. That's part of the spend down. The other piece that's in here is the one that we discussed. Mindy, this is for you to know. I was surprised that Mr. Roback is not here, but I put in, based on our discussion at the last special meeting, $16,000 for possible improvements and repairs at the McQueen House. There's no way that I can find $16,000 worth of cuts in this general fund budget. So if we're going to make the commitment that Mr. Roback is looking for, and he's the one we're hearing from, I'm not saying there aren't others, but we're going to have to spend that out of our fund balance. We do have a healthy fund balance in the general fund. You won't put the city in jeopardy if you choose to do this, but it is a choice that council should make. I am not here to advocate for it or against it. You've been hearing the public input. Before you make a decision, you'll have an opportunity to hear more public comment over the course of the next week, plus at the public hearing next week if anyone has a strong opinion and wants to come and talk about it. I would like to get council's input on that. This budget can be changed based upon what council thinks. So we have a specific account. Should council tell me that you don't want to spend down the general fund, then we have a line item that we'll make an adjustment to and present, and then council will adopt that amended budget. If you tell me that you want me to do more, I'll increase that as well. You have authority to change the parking lot repairs too, though I would strongly encourage you not to cut those parking lot repairs. I think it's, I'm advocating for that one. I think that covers all the highlights of what I've done since we had our last meeting, but I'm going to open this up for discussion, questions for me. My phone will be available if anyone comes up with any questions between now and the next meeting and you'd like to get some answers. I'll either give you the answers personally or I'll get you the information so that you do have those answers. If you make any decisions regarding changes that you want to see in this budget and you make that decision before the special meeting, please take the time to communicate with myself and the treasurer. And if you're looking to make changes, we will try to help you have in place the information you need to make the motion that accomplishes what you want. If you're satisfied with my budget, you'll have a motion in place that will allow you to adopt it as it is. Any questions, comments, or anything else? Then we will close the presentation of the mayor's budget, and I will ask for...
Is that correct? Your next meeting on the 23rd?
That's what I would like to do it at 7 p.m., 1 week from today, on the 23rd, and I'll deal with that a little later on. Assuming that you guys agree with me on the next step, which is to set a public hearing for that date. So I'm asking council to set a public hearing for 7:05. You have a motion pre-prepared in front of you.
I move we set a public hearing for Thursday, May 23rd, 2019, at 7:05 in the City Council Chambers at Perry City Hall on the proposed 2019-2020 city budget and on the city's tax millage for the same fiscal year. Support.
7:05, just like the Tigers.
Moved by Grass, seconded by Queen, that we set a public hearing for Thursday, May 23rd, 2019, at 7:05 in council chambers at Perry City Hall on the proposed 2019-2020 city budget and on the city's tax millage for the same fiscal year. It's open discussion.
I'll just note for members of the public who might be watching us on YouTube that if you wish to come and be heard on the budget, a copy of it will be available for display here in City Hall and available for you to review. You can obtain a copy from the city if you wish. Just talk to the ladies upstairs. They'll walk you through the process. And if you wish to address the council on any matter that you find in that budget, the public hearing will be your opportunity to do so without time limit.
You're also invited.
Yes, you are.
You're invited.
Should you wish to
I
come.
can see this through.
I'll check my schedule.
Okay. Even they got a schedule. I think that's great.
When we went back to school, we'd have a schedule like that too.
Yeah, I'd have to be in bed by 9-ish.
Okay.
Do you want this, a copy of this budget on our city website?
Do we customarily put a copy of the budget on the website?
No, we just have it available at City Hall, they can come in and take a look at it. I just didn't know, technology nowadays, I just wasn't sure.
Is that something that can be easily accomplished by the staff? I don't have an objection.
I'll have to check with Dory tomorrow, but I think so.
I don't want to turn it into a whole big complicated thing. I assume it's easy to do.
Yeah, I'll check with Dory tomorrow, I think so. I just wasn't sure if that was something that you wanted or cared about, or...
I've been more concerned about getting the budget done before the deadline, and so I hadn't given it any consideration. I'm just glad that we were able to get through the process so I can present it tonight, and the council will be available for a meeting next week, so we can get it approved. Other discussion?
Would you like to call
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against, say nay. Motion carried.
Very good. That'll take us to our final item of new business, which is discussion of recycling. I've been so busy with the budget, I haven't prepared for this, but Devin, you have some information to share with council?
John and I sat down with Granger, and again, when we were talking budget talks, the recycling came up an option, and the reason for that was due to the one on Britton Road, the recycling had closed, and so John thought it was being responsible as a city to at least look into the avenue, so if there was a majority that wanted it or council wanted to consider it. So what's in front of you is what Granger proposed to us. Gives a lot of different details, and I believe at the budget, the mayor said this was something that council needed to have discussion or consider, yes, no.
The bottom line,
I have my copy, you want to look at it?
Yeah.
the bottom line is that there would be a cost to the city to institute this recycling program. I do not have money in the budget that would allow us to pay for that. So to make this available to the residents would require a user fee. That would become part of the trash fee that we charge now. I have not incorporated this in the budget that I presented to you. It's something that I think maybe requires some discussion and some consideration and an opportunity for you to decide if you want to go forward with this. Do you want to hold public hearings? Do you want to talk to your neighbors? Do you want to have some discussions at council meetings? And so I wanted to bring this up for discussion so that you can go through a deliberative process if you're interested in pursuing this. So this is an opportunity for me to share some information with you guys so that you can decide if this is something that you want to pursue, and if so, how you would like to go about that.
On the meeting on the 23rd, when we're done with the taxes part of it, can we discuss it then? It'll give us a week to like speak to the neighbors, see what they would like, what they think. We have some that,
It could be if council wants to spend the time on it at that time. I am presenting it to you without any urgency for it. I'm not going to make any kind of an attempt to put it in the current budget. Now, I'm making an assumption that council doesn't want to rush forward within a week on it as well. If that is true, then we do not have to take this up that quickly. But the answer to your direct question is yes, Chris. It can be put on the special meeting as a discussion item, should council wish to do that.
Now, we just increased the water sewer costs
We did.
today, and this would further increase that above and beyond that.
This would be an additional user fee beyond what we have for water and sewer. And trash.
and it's a yes or no, isn't it? It's not,
Yeah, it's all.
some people can have it, some people don't.
There's no functional way to manage that system. And so if we attempted to set it up with an opt-out, what your likely result would be is a recycling program that doesn't work, or one that works, but everybody chooses to opt out because, gosh, we're still gonna pick my recycling up, why wouldn't I just opt out? It's just not something practical for Granger to manage as they're going from home to home, trying to figure out where to pick up recyclables and where not to pick them up.
Okay. That discussion is done.
Do you want to keep this on the agenda so it becomes an ongoing item to discuss at regular meetings? Or would you like me to take it off the agenda and council will let me know if they want it to come back up?
Take it off the agenda and we'll let you, a little less research and let you know if you want to put it back on.
Is that the consensus?
Yeah, yes.
Very good. Then that is what we will do, so.
I'm given, yeah, right, I'm given a moment so I can make a motion to put it back on the table and discuss.
Well, we haven't made a formal motion to table it, so if a council member asks for this to return to the agenda, then we would just put it back on there at your request. Yeah. If you don't want it to work that way, if you want a more formal process, you can table this. And then it would require action by council to put it back on. Okay. So, that will close out new business and take us to any other business that may come before council. This is our second opportunity for public comment. Would anyone from the public like to address council at this time regarding any matter?
Good evening.
Our new planning commission member, welcome in.
Thank you. Bob Porter, 330 North Madison.
Madison, that was the bad road, okay.
Yeah, it's really bad.
It's his fault. I'm gonna contradict myself a little bit because I'm gonna stand my high horse about taxes. You know, you guys, we pay a lot of taxes here. You guys raise water rates, which we need to try to do whatever we can to keep our taxes that are going out. Inflation is, I don't ever get an inflation rate raise, so it's hard. I had a question for John. Your cost for the hydrants, is that included installation? Your 6,000? That's just buying the hydrants, that's an awful lot of money. Did we shop around?
We always do.
Okay, it just seems really high. My other thing for the recycling you guys just talked about, I think personally, it's irresponsible not to have a recycling program. You should see my garage, I have 7 or 8 bins that I recycle almost everything. And now since that one closed, I have to drive to East Lansing. So I personally think it's mandatory that everyone should recycle. That's my own personal opinion, but it's important. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Ford.
There's a
Good to have you with us.
program in Langsford, we go to that one too.
Oh, really?
Yes, there is a recycling available in Lanesburg.
town can do it better.
Would anybody else from the public like to address the council at this time? Seeing no other public comment then, I do have one item that I would like to bring to council's attention. So I have prepared this, and I'd like to keep this on our radar. Now that we have the council back up to full strength, I would like to ask the council consider getting back into the zoning ordinance matters. We had tabled those a little while back in fact, on my deciding vote. This is what it would look like should you wish to take the zoning ordinance regarding adult businesses off the table. You cannot consider an ordinance without having it on the agenda. So the procedure would be that you would have to have a motion to take it off the table and place it on your agenda for the next meeting. The adult business ordinances regarding marijuana businesses is subject to one more hearing and a final vote for approval or disapproval. I have another matter. Both of these have worked their way through the planning commission, so Mindy will have had familiarity with them already, regarding some more updates for the zoning ordinance, and I need to put that before you for first reading. I'm presenting this now because I thought what would make the most sense would be to put the ordinance you haven't seen yet in front of you for first reading at the same time that you're ready to take this off the table, rather than me piecemealing all this stuff at you and make you guys slow me down if you are not ready to proceed. The council is now back to full strength, and so it is my distinct opinion that we should move forward with updating our zoning.
When it says adult business, now are we going to include any store that sells beer, liquor, bars?
There is no proposal to define those as adult businesses. I know this from our previous discussion that the adult store up on the corners is included in that definition.
7-Elevens and the...
No, the Lion's Den
Oh,
is already defined as an adult business. It is where the zoning ordinance doesn't allow, because in the past, we didn't have our zoning ordinances all up to date. We dropped the ball and got in. My reason for pressing this is I don't want us to make that same mistake as a city again. I'd like to define these things so that if council decides to allow businesses in the future, zoning is up to date and in place and ready to go. Or if they change the law at the state level to be more permissive, we've got our controls in place, and we don't have another experience where a store comes in at a location that the community never envisioned allowing it.
I would be okay with, not allowing a certain number of adult stores in the city, but I just don't, my opinion is I don't agree with it. The medical, with a marijuana store is no different than the bar, so that's.
Bars are regulated at the state level, however.
And
They
these
have to
will
go
also-
through a process and obtain a license in order to bring a new one in. So any bar coming in would be required to come before you and go through that process. Right now, we don't have a process for marijuana stores, and so like the Lion's Den did, if we don't put our zoning, our ordinances in place, zoning and licensing, then they can come in like the Lion's Den did. You wake up one morning and there it is.
I move that we reconsider our action relative to the motion made to table indefinitely the possible adoption of ordinance number 344, which amends zoning ordinance regarding definitions of adult businesses by addressing this issue at the June 6, 2019 regular council meeting.
Second.
Moved by Elliott, seconded by Grass, the motion just read. Is there discussion?
I think that we need to do this because the difference between what Chris, what you're saying is, for instance, grocery stores And bars and restaurants and anything like that have to have liquor licenses in order to function, and there's only so many allowed per an area within the city, and it's all done by the state government. Currently, at this point in time, there's zero things like that regarding all the stuff going on with the marijuana stores.
And isn't that exciting though, to be in Perry and make that happen? To say, well, you know, we can't have any more liquor stores or bar restaurants. But it's exciting that this is something brand new. And I just think it's being foo-fooed, because it's being wrapped up in one package. I mean, I'll get voted down again, but
This is the same thing that happened with the adult store, the Lions Den store out there too. And from everything I've heard, there was a huge uproar about that, because the city council didn't have their ducks in a row dealing with that. So why would we want to be behind the ball again on doing something with this and not having the regulations in order, at least until the state catches up and gets their stuff in gear and decides what they're going to do?
I'm not saying you could always petition council on that, Mr. Burris, right?
Council sets the ordinances, and so as this thing develops, should it be the will of council to open us up to allow marijuana stores and limited licensing, we would then go back and reconsider the licensing ordinance, and council would have the opportunity to set up whatever parameters they thought were appropriate. You would do so with your zoning ordinances already established in place. Now, at that time, when you reconsider your licensing ordinance, you would have the opportunity to reconsider your zoning ordinance to see if it accomplishes what you want it to accomplish if you're going to allow for licenses in the city of Perry. What I'm trying to do is set things up to hold everything in place until council has the opportunity to make a considered decision on what this should look like here in Perry. Further discussion? Do we want a roll call on this one, Chris?
you might as well.
Okay, that's not a problem. All right, would you like to run this motion? So I did the first part. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna do a roll call. The way the council rules work, a good opportunity to tell Mindy too, is that typically we just do a voice vote. However, if a voice vote is not unanimous, we are mandated to do a roll call to establish what the vote on the motion is. So what I've done is I've given Councilman Powell an opportunity to advise us if it would be a waste of time to do a voice vote. He's been very kind. He's not required to, but he's let us know that we should go to a roll call, and he'll vote the way he chooses to vote on this. But should anybody wish to vote no, might as well just go with the roll call and do that. So each council member's name gets called, and they vote as individuals, either yes, in favor of the motion to take this off the table, or no, against the motion to take this off the table. It will take a majority vote to take it off the table. We put it in a 3-2 vote when we put this on the table, so it will take that majority vote. I won't be voting tonight because we have an odd number of council members. They can't abstain from this, so there's no possible way for us to have a tie vote tonight. So if you'd like to call their names. Oh, the only other thing I would tell you is that a roll call can never be done in the same order twice. In other words, I can't always make Mike or Chris or somebody vote first. The order has to be rearranged. But you can call them in any order you want, because we haven't had a roll call tonight.
Does he have all the names of everybody?
Do you have anything is there anything you need to be able to do this? You get to call a roll call.
Okay,
Now let's see how well you remember our names.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, feel free to show them your names. if you
Well, she
want.
doesn't have one, but.
Just send them a link.
Sit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll be glad. You can call one if you want, but we're not going to get an answer. I'll call him. Are you ready? You call the name and they give you their vote.
Sure, Adam Grass,
Yes.
Christopher Powell,
No.
Elliott, Craig Elliott,
Yes.
Mindy Galbapy, Michael Queen.
Yes.
Did you keep track?
I did.
Very good. Announce the vote. How
Dave,
many yes, how many no, and the results.
4 yes, 1 no. In favor of addressing
You don't have to say that, I'll just say the motion passes.
the motion passes.
Well done. You know, most of us don't have to do a roll call vote on our first time up here. I will place a first reading of the other ordinance on the next agenda. Just so council is aware, there is a process here, but you are not required to move forward with these at your next meeting. We can have some more discussion, we can talk about whatever it is we want to do, and you can move this forward, approval and a first reading on the other ordinance when you're ready to do that. Okay? I have no other items of business for council tonight. Do any council members have any items of business that you'd like to bring up for possible council action this time?
I have one, and it's more for out here.
Well, do you want to do that under discussions and observations if it's not something you're looking for a vote on?
Yeah, well, yeah, okay. Sure, yeah, I'm not looking for a vote, I'm
Yeah,
just,
This
it's
is
a
where
question.
something that needs a vote.
Okay.
We'll do council discussion and observations next. So, hearing no other items of business, we will now move to council discussions and observations, and I'll recognize Councilman Powell.
oh, I have nothing. Oh,
I thought you had something you
yeah,
wanted to say.
I do now, I forgot what it was. I have an idea in my head for the parks, and it may involve, any Eagle Scouts. So at your school, or if anybody knows anybody that's in the Scouts, Eagle Scouts take on big projects, late, like in their senior year. And, I'm looking for ideas and hopefully free labor on, some items we want to take care of in the parks. You know, cheap, fast, bang for the buck, and an Eagle Scout was just an idea I had. So for anybody that's like in trouble with their parents and they gotta do work, send them to the park and we can figure out something like that. But if you know any Eagle Scouts, have them give me a holler, please. Appreciate it.
Anything else? No. Thank you, Chris. Councilman Grass.
I don't have too much. I would say that I do like the idea of the sidewalk down there beside King Cone. I know it's a seasonal business. However, it is not a very good place to walk with little ones.
Right.
I know that by experience. I just walked mine out there just a couple weeks ago. And so I know that that's all expensive stuff and takes budgeting and planning, but.
We have money in the next budget for sidewalks, so could be a discussion on where to go. And John's here, so he's aware of your thinking on it. Anything else? Councilman Ahmed.
I'd also like to add to what Chris was saying, that if anybody just wants to volunteer their time to come help with projects that we're looking at doing with the Parks Department, Parks Work Group, let us know, because we would like to involve as many people in the community as possible for both help and many hands make light work, and to encourage community involvement in projects that are for the community. Also, with the whole recycling situation, I'm kind of a quasi-anti-recycling individual, and the research I've done and past dealings with it, so I will just put that out there that I don't necessarily agree with recycling, and if you haven't ever looked up the negatives of recycling, because everybody promotes the positives and runs around saying how good it is for the environment and stuff, but the reality is that it's not very good for the environment. And most recently, within the last year, China, who was the sole purchaser of all the world's plastic, decided they did not need any more and stopped. So right now there are countries recycling plastics floating on barges around our oceans right now, with the possibility of just being dumped like they've been in the past. So the reason for that is Americans don't recycle their plastic. They send it to other countries to recycle. But now those countries are not needing it anymore. And so we're going to pay double. We're going to pay, and it's not really going to get done what we hope that it gets done, which is that it gets recycled. On top of that, it is not a zero-sum difference when things get recycled, meaning it costs energy, it costs pollution to recycle plastic. It doesn't just get reformed into new plastic. It has to be melted down, it has to be added things to it, and every time that happens, chemicals are used that get flushed out into our environment just like before. And there is a negative environmental impact for those things. So don't take my word for it, look it up, and don't take the government's word for it that it's all good. Thank you.
I wanted to give you some more things to put in front of that. I was like, well, could you be the quasi-pseudo-reformed anti-racist? I'm sorry. I couldn't resist picking on you just a little bit.
Sometimes it's easy.
Hey, watch it, boy.
Sometimes it'll come back at me.
Yeah, sometimes it comes back a lot quicker than you
Like
think.
the next time that I cut the young man off, he actually has to whack me with the gavel. Councilman Queen.
I'd like to thank the student mayor, he did a great job. So again, thank you. I'd like to welcome Mindy. Again, some big shoes to fill, as we all know. Miss former partner here sitting in the seat kicking me. So, again, with my safety spiel, right, citywide yard sales coming up, so if people walking around, please be cognizant of your driving, be cognizant of people walking around that will probably be around with children, as well as, again, summertime's coming, school's almost out, kids are gonna be out playing, don't drive like fools in the neighborhood. Fortunately, I was sitting on my porch right before I came here, I saw a lady pass my house, I live on the, by the school, went straight through a stop sign, probably doing 35, 40 miles an hour, they didn't look. Very frustrating, right as 5 minutes before that, my wife and son were walking back home from the grocery store. So, please be safe, be cognizant of children, people walking. Thank you.
Thank you. So, I'm going to announce, and I'm going to do it informally here. I'm sorry that Terry Wood's not here. If all council members are here, I can simply announce a special meeting and we avoid a more formal process. But because Councilman Wood is missing, we're going to have to do the more formal process. I will communicate with Devin, a section of the city charter that allows me to call a special meeting, and you will be served with notice of the special meeting at your homes. Sounds more ominous than it really is. Those of us who have been going through it are going, oh, there's our envelope again. But I will call a special meeting of the Perry City Council for 7 o'clock here in council chambers on Thursday, May 23rd. That will be a week from today for the purpose that you designated in setting your public hearings today. Does council want to talk about recycling, or do you want to carry that forward and we'll deal with it later? Okay, so I won't include that on the special meeting notice. Mindy, welcome.
Thank you.
We've had a lot of city councils, and even though we've disagreed with each other, we've always been able to have a really good nature, pick on each other a little bit, tease, and get along and still talk to each other. And I think you're going to fit right in with that. I've been very proud of the councils that I've served with, even when they've shot me down on something, because it's been a good group of people. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the seat. I think you're going to be a great help to us. Student mayor always gets the last word, so I'll recognize you next for council discussions and observations, if you have anything you'd like to say. We'll go to our student mayor. Anything that you'd like to share with us, you get the final word. If you want to give us any advice on any issues that we're dealing with, anything that we're talking about related to ordinances, budgets, or anything you have going on, or you know what? You could even tell us your college plans if you want. You get the last word. Thank you for being here.
I'd like to thank you guys for this opportunity to be on city council. It's it's actually quite enjoyable now since it's the end of my senior year and most of the busy part's done with all the tests having already been taken, so it's just enjoyable to be at these meetings.
I'm glad you came. And next week for the special meeting, you can run it. We've never had a 3-session student mayor, have we?
He's right about that.
Boom.
If you're available next Thursday, you're absolutely welcome to be here and participate in that meeting for student mayor until we get out to June.
Okay.
And that concludes council discussions and observations. If you would like to adjourn us.
I adjourn this regular city council meeting at 8:30 p.m.